Welcome to episode 501 of the Recruitment Marketing and Sales Podcast. And I'm your host, Denise Oyston. And thank you for the various emails I received when I recorded episode 500. And a few people made comments. I even had a phone call. So thank you, Mike, for that. I really appreciated it. And several of you asked different questions, and I thought it would be good to just close that loop and just chat through some of the lessons that have happened by recording this podcast over the last 13 years and 500 episodes. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Recruitment Marketing and Sales Podcast. An obsessive focus on marketing and sales is the only way to accelerate your company growth. So listen in now as we share the latest strategies and techniques guaranteed to deliver you more placements and profits. Well, hi everyone. Hope you and yours are well. And today I'm going to dive into some of the lessons around recording, or some of the lessons that I have received around recording over 500 podcast episodes. And I will be honest with you, when I started this podcast in 2013, it was September, I didn't sit down and think one day I'll record 500 of these babies. Not at all. That's not how it works. Really, you have an idea, you act on it, and you see what happens. What I couldn't have known, though, was that the next 13 years, all of the things that would bring for me, or what staying the course would actually teach me. So today, something a little different, just me talking honestly about some of the lessons that I've learned recording the podcast. And there was one lesson a few seconds ago. I still have not learned to switch my flaming phone off. It was my niece texting me to let me know that she just watched the last series of Shrinking on Apple TV. It's a thing that we both really enjoy. So that was what she was letting me know. Anyway, let me get into talking about this podcast. And though 500 episodes sounds like an achievement, and I suppose it is, but it was never the target I was aiming for. It was just very simple. 2013, very different then. Marketing has been one of those disciplines that's changed so much in the last sort of 10, 15 years. And the thing was, at that point in time, there were very few voices in the recruitment marketing space talking practically to small recruitment businesses. Not the big agencies, not the enterprise companies and organisations. No one was really talking to the 1 to 20 person operations run by people like you, who are brilliant at recruitment but haven't had the time, the resources, or the roadmap to really build let's just call it a proper marketing system that works. And at the time, that, and still does, that gap felt worth filling. So we started filling it. What I didn't know then was that the act of consistently showing up, of publishing week after week with the odd gaps, year after year, would itself become, ironically, one of the most powerful demonstrations of what we teach. We tell our clients all the time that consistency beats perfection, that systems matter more than tactics, that visibility compounds over time. And it's the truth. And every single episode of this podcast has been proof of that. 500 isn't that number I was chasing. It's what happened because I kept going. Now, I titled this podcast, and this is lesson 1, Consistency is a character trait. It's not a content strategy. And I hear a lot of conversations in our world about content strategies, content marketing, posting schedules, content calendars, social media, and those things absolutely 100% matter, but they are not what keeps you going. What keeps you going is deciding somewhere early on that you're the kind of person who shows up. You show up even when it's inconvenient, even when no one seems to be listening, even when You recorded the last 3 episodes, maybe under difficult circumstances, and you're not sure they were your best work. The episodes I nearly didn't make were often the most honest. There's something about recording when you're tired or stretched or uncertain, and it strips away the performance and leaves something real. And real tends to connect more with people. I have watched businesses start podcasts, newsletters, LinkedIn routines, and then they give up. They abandon them 6 weeks later because they're not seeing the magic happen. They're not seeing the results. And I understand it. I'm a human being too. It feels pointless, doesn't it, when the audience is small and the feedback is either non-existent or quiet. But consistency is not a switch you turn off or on when it's working. It's what you do before it works. It's what really creates that compounding effect that eventually makes the work feel worthwhile. And if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this: you don't build consistency by finding the right strategy. You build it by deciding, really, sounds deep, and it is, but you know who you are. So let's look at lesson 2. You keep going even when life makes it hard. 13 years is a long time, and I won't pretend it was straightforward. There were several family and friend bereavements that stopped us in our tracks. Sharon's mum passed away. I had quite a serious cancer scare. And then I had that. And then literally within a couple of months, my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that made me rethink everything: the business, priorities, what we were doing and why. And then we had 3 house moves, including our eventual move here to the West Cumbrian coast, which we love. It involved a lot of upheaval that makes everything feel just that bit harder. And then, of course, there's everything that happened, wasn't there, in 2020 with the pandemic. Over the last 13 years, though, we even changed our business model completely at one point. So what SFR looks like today is different from what it looked like when we started this podcast. Originally, we actually started off as a marketing strategy agency, and then it was all about creating content for people. It was a delivery function that we had. We did people's content and social media, and then we created a combination. And that kind of change can be disorientating, even when you know it's the right thing, because when it comes to marketing, this is an area that moves so fast and is so different that you really do have to adapt. And then, of course, we lost Flo, super fast Staffy. I know that probably seems a minor thing. It's not. If you are a dog owner, you know that is not a minor thing. And for those of you who will have heard me talk about her all of the time, she was a fixture. She would sit very quietly in the corner of most of the recording sessions that I can count, and snoring a little Staffy head off. But losing her was really quite significant. For any of you, if you've lost a dog, you understand. And life, doesn't it? It keeps throwing things up for you. And I think that's a lesson that, not that you have to be superhuman, you just have to push through without feeling any of it. And when I say not feeling, of course we feel, but you just have to do it anyway. You have to be more stoic. I've been just reading again, The Obstacle is the Way, the 10th anniversary edition. I read the first one many years ago, and it has some great points in there. The Daily Stoic on YouTube, if you've not gone and watched that, go and check it out. But you keep coming back. And even if an episode is a bit shorter, or a couple of times recently I've missed a couple of weeks because of things that have been going on, marketing while you work is not a nice idea. It's actually a business survival strategy. And I think this podcast has been proof of that for the last 13 years. So lesson 3, always be a learner. Every day, I remember one of my very first mentors always used to say, every day is a school day. And when I think about episode 1 of this podcast, I could say it sounds bloody awful, but it sounds very different to this one. And you can understand why. And it should, because the format's changed. I've got better. The topics have evolved. The software's evolved. The tools we use are so different now. When we started the conversation, on the podcast, it was about LinkedIn. It was about Facebook. It was about email marketing, basic content. And now we're talking about AI, prompt engineering, marketing systems, demand generation, positioning strategy. We've changed too. Sharon and I have both invested continuously in our development, as we explain to our accountant every time he asks about what's this trading course for. And it's important because we've done a lot of work in the last year in understanding different models and how we communicate what we do and frameworks that help our clients get better. And we are learning from people outside and inside our industry and bringing those lessons back in. Because one of the things I feel most strongly about, and I say this to every client we work with, is that the moment you think you know enough, it's a very dangerous seat to be sitting in. It's a very dangerous moment because the market is changing. The marketing landscape is changing. The way buyers make decisions is changing. In fact, a heads up, we will be launching a new version of Superfast Circle around the middle to end of May, where we've done a phase 1 launch to our current clients already. Whole new system, and it's been completely updated because everything has really changed in the last couple of years when it comes to marketing for recruiters. And we decided it was time to put all that, we've been sharing it all with our clients anyway, but putting that all into a system and a process. The businesses that thrive now are the ones where the owner is still genuinely curious. They're still reading, they're still listening, they're still willing to try something they haven't tried before. And this podcast has kept me honest about that. When you commit to producing useful, regular content, you have to keep learning. You can't teach what you've stopped practicing yourself. So if you're a business owner listening to this, I want to ask you, when did you last invest in your own learning? Not your team's training, but yours. What are you reading now? You just talked about, I've just gone back to reading The Daily Stoic and the Obstacle is the Way. What are you listening to? What are you doing that stretches your thinking? Your business will always grow to the level of your own growth. And that's a truism. And that's been one of the things that I've observed over, I would actually say, over the last 30 years, not just the last 18 years that I've been working with Sharon in Superfast Recruitment. So lesson 4, this is a key one too, and it aligns to a couple of things I said earlier, but build before anyone is watching. And we're as human beings, we all want to think we're doing the right thing and we want immediate results. Doesn't always happen that way. So in the early days, when it comes to this podcast, the downloads were small. The audience was quiet. There was very little external evidence that what we were doing was worth doing. And many people would have called that a sign to go, hang on a minute, just stop. And what I've learned is that we go through seasons in our life, and the seasons of silence are not a sign of failure. They're foundations. They're where the work gets honest, where you work out what you actually believe, where the habit forms that will often serve you for absolutely years. And I say this to the clients and the people that we talk to all the time, that the content that you produce today, the email you send this week, that LinkedIn post you write tomorrow morning, the person who most needs to read it probably hasn't found you just yet. You're not talking to the people who are already watching. You're building the thing that will be there when the right person looks. Of course, you're talking to the people that are there. You're there to help them. But somewhere along the line, I'm a great believer that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. That a post that you have written will make a difference for somebody. It'll build for them. It'll make sense for them. You're not talking to all of those people who are already watching. You are compounding your visibility. Trust compounds, expertise compounds, but only if you keep going long enough for the compounding to kick in. The businesses I've seen transform their results through marketing are not the ones that have a sudden breakthrough. There's no sudden breakthrough. Let's be really honest about that. They're the ones who were consistent for long enough that momentum builds. And then one day a prospect says, "Oh, I've been following your content for months. I'm ready to talk." Have any of you ever had that? And I'm sure you have. And that doesn't happen after 6 weeks. It maybe happens after 6 months, maybe a year, or maybe 18 months, or sometimes years. Build before anyone is watching. The audience always comes to the thing that was already there. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. So let's look at lesson number 5, and let's talk about business being personal and stop pretending that it's otherwise. There's this sort of idea in, let's just call it professional circles, that you should keep your business and your personal lives separate. And that really has changed. I come from a corporate background, and that was very much the case. It's very different now. It was always maintain a certain kind of distance, and that showing that the human behind the brand was sort of unprofessional. I've never believed that. And many of you will know that from hearing stories on the podcast. But 13 years of recording this has sort of reinforced why. The episodes that have resonated most are not the ones that were the most polished production or the ones with all the easy frameworks. They're the ones where we talked honestly about what we were going through, what our clients were going through, where we shared something real. And for business owners, that matters enormously. I think particularly as a recruitment business owner, you are your brand. Many of you are still billing significantly across the spectrum of the activity, even though you have a team. Because here's the thing, the way you show up, the values you demonstrate, the honesty in how you talk about your market, your clients, your experience, that is what builds trust. And trust is what wins work, let's be honest. Clients don't do deals or hire firms, they hire people. They hire the person they've come to know through their content, emails, conversations. They hire that person who feels real. So be real, share the difficult moments as well as the wins. Let people see what you actually believe, not just what you think they want to hear. We have a value. It's called heartfelt candor. And this is where, and we've used that with our clients over the years. We built Superfast Recruitment on telling clients what they needed to hear, not what they always wanted to hear. And I am sure we have lost clients because of that. We've even had clients that disagreed with us and then came back and said you were right. And it's because sometimes we all have to hear those uncomfortable ideas and that uncomfortable feedback. And that's really important because it's about being honest. And over the years, that's never really let us down. So lesson 6, let's just start to bring this to a close. Niche down further than you feel comfortable. And when Sharon and I started our careers, we'd both worked in the pharmaceutical industry. We were both good at marketing and sales. We decided, let's just do this ourselves. Marketing was marketing. We could work with multiple industries and we were good at it. But then when things really started to happen and things got even better for us was when we decided to focus exclusively on the recruitment and staffing business. And many of you will have heard of Centred Excellence, know Centred Excellence, will know Nikki and Katie. And we met Nikki Coffin back in, I think it must have been either 2010 or 2011. She was recommended to us from a connection of ours. We both had the same sort of like connection at the time. And we started working with Nikki. We were working with a couple of recruiters just by coincidence, one of whom was a pharmaceutical recruiter, Karen Forshaw. I think Karen might have retired early, but Karen, a good friend of mine. But we worked with Karen. And then Nikki said, you know what, it'd be a good idea. So shout out to Nikki. And thank you, Nikki, if you listen to this podcast. Thank you for suggesting that this might be an area for us working, because we were working with multiple different sectors at the time. And we thought, you know what, this works really well for us. And so that's what we did. We had that decision. We focused exclusively with the recruitment sector, and it really worked for us. It changed everything, not just our results, our satisfaction, our expertise, our ability to genuinely help, and our ability to build a business we're proud of. This podcast exists because of the business owners that we've worked with, the recruitment business owners, not all business owners, not marketers in general, but the recruitment business owners with those small recruitment companies who are trying to build something real. Every episode we make, every piece of content we produce, every resource is built for that person specifically, because we know that person. We know their pressures, their market, the billing cycles, feast and famine, objections and the wins. Generic marketing advice doesn't really work. Not really, but it doesn't work for recruiters, because strategies borrowed from e-commerce or SaaS or some of the other professional services don't always translate cleanly into a world where you're placing people, building long-term relationships in a sector with its own particular dynamics. And of course, you have that whole scenario that can be positive in some ways, in the fact that you're marketing to clients and you're marketing to candidates as well. And I think for us, the more specific we have been, the more useful we've been. And the more useful we've been, the more we've grown doing things that we enjoy doing. If you are a business owner and you're trying to market to everyone, I want you to sit with this question. Who is the one person that you serve better than anyone else? What does that one niche look like? Where you have the deepest knowledge, best track record, most genuine interest? We'll go there. Go all in, be the definitive voice for that group, and watch what happens. So 500 episodes, 501 now, 13 years, one idea. Looking back, I'm incredibly proud of it. Not just because of the number, but really because of what it represents, the commitment, the learning, the seasons of showing up when didn't really want to. Life can throw you a curveball, can't it? It likes to throw you 3 or 4, doesn't it? Unfortunately, they all seem to come at once, but there you go. You know, the conversation we've had. And if you are a business owner that has worked with us, a shout out to you. We've worked with some brilliant people, not only in the UK, but in the US, Australia, who just needed someone to understand their world and they wanted some help. And if that's been you at some point, then thank you. Genuinely, you're the reason this exists. If you're in one of those quiet, difficult seasons right now, and we all have them, building something before anyone is watching, those foundations can take time. Keep going when the results are slow. I want to say this directly to you because, you know, the audience you're building for today doesn't know you exist yet, but you just keep going anyway. The people who are going to benefit most from what you're creating maybe haven't even found you yet. Keep going anyway. The version of your business that you're working towards is not built in the easy moments. Nothing's ever built in the easy moments. It's built in the ones where you kept going when you could have stopped, and just keep going anyway. If you've been listening for a while, been thinking about getting more serious about your marketing, then of course, you know the drill. You know how to get in contact with us. Go to superfastrecruitment.com/call. Pop your name, email address, book a slot with one of us, and we can talk. We can talk to you about how we might help you. So this is Denise saying bye for now, and I'll see you on episode, or I'll hear you or speak to you on episode 502. If you enjoy this podcast and this year you are ready to take your marketing to the next level, then check out Superfast Circle. This is a unique marketing program designed specifically for recruiters and their marketeers. You get access to 2 virtual marketing directors, you get consultancy, you get your hand held through the whole process, training, consulting, and we provide content resources. So go over to superfastrecruitment.co.uk/join and check out what's available.